Hello everyone, Namaskaram. Welcome to my channel VPK Nutrition, Mind Body Healing with Pushpa. We're still in April, and April is considered to be Parkinson's Awareness Month. Parkinson's is a degenerative disease which is definitely a part of old age for a lot of people. About 10 million people worldwide are said to have Parkinson's disease, and out of those, about 4% of them are actually diagnosed at age 50 or less. So it is kind of an important topic to talk about, and in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing some concepts about Parkinson's, what it is, what are some symptoms of Parkinson's, what to look for, and if you're prone to something like that. Also give you an Ayurvedic approach. On a personal note, both my parents had Parkinson's, so I have seen firsthand how debilitating this condition can be. So stay tuned to learn more. Welcome back, everyone. First of all, I want to thank all my viewers who have been watching regularly and giving me feedback. But if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe to my channel. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and also share it with your family and friends who can be benefited. So let's begin with the topic today. So what is Parkinson's disease? Now, in Parkinson's disease, some of the neurons in the brain start to die. And these neurons are, some of these neurons are responsible for producing this chemical messenger called dopamine. Now, dopamine is a neurotransmitter which helps to transmit signals between nerve cells in the nervous system. So when this kind of decrease happens, there is dysregulation of the brain activity, and brain functions abnormally, starts sending signals to the body to do all of the stuff that it's supposed to do. So this starts to manifest as symptoms of Parkinson's in the body and also in the mind. So let's look at some statistics. First of all, I already mentioned there are about 10 million people in the world suffering from Parkinson's disease, and less than 4% of them are diagnosed at 50 or less. And in the US, there's about 1 million people with Parkinson's disease, and it's expected to climb to about 1.2 million by year 2030. And when you look at the gender, the men are 1.5 times more susceptible to get Parkinson's than women. So these are some important numbers and pretty high numbers. So really, it is also very much associated with old age. And when I talk about the Ayurvedic approach to this, you will understand why. So what are the causes of Parkinson's? So again, there are no concrete evidence to show that this is the cause, but there is a genetic component that has been shown. There is also another theory that environmental toxins may play a role in this, because it is found a lot in the industrialized countries. Again, there is no conclusive evidence, but this is something to keep in mind. So if you are genetically inclined, it's you have a greater chance, but that doesn't mean you cannot prevent it by following a proper diet and lifestyle in your life. What are some symptoms of Parkinson's? Now, there are several symptoms of Parkinson's. Of course, the most common, if you've even heard about Parkinson's, is usually the shaking, the tremors, stiffness, rigidity, and all of that. But I wanted to go through them one by one and kind of explain what each thing means. So I'm going to talk about 10 of them. And then after that, of course, there are so many others, and it also varies from person to person. So let's look at what these symptoms are. Number one, tremors. Now, this is the commonest symptom of Parkinson's with anybody. Usually it causes shaking of the hands, arms, legs, jaw, or the head. And this is something even my mom had. Her left hand is always shaking. So this really causes a lot of problems in day-to-day taking care of yourself. Number two, rigidity. Now, this is called stamba in Sanskrit or Ayurveda. Here, the rigidity is because of the dryness of the body, and all the joints get very stiff because the liquid is gone. And so again, this can also, third symptom is slowness of movement. Again, this impairs the movement. This rigidity and dryness causes slowness of movement. And not only that, it also creates something called festinating gait, or the shuffling gait, they call it, where they have trouble getting started. They feel stuck when they want to move from one place to the other. So usually when they stand up, my father used to say, it takes like a minute for the signal to come for him to get to move his leg forward, which is something that we take for granted, but it's so hard for them. But once they start moving, then they keep going. It's like the runaway train. And then again, to stop, it becomes another difficult thing because it takes a while for the signal to sink in. So again, this is something to be conscious of. And if you know somebody, you can have a lot of compassion because this is a big thing. And this leads us to our fourth symptom, which is having a lack of coordination and balance, and this can also lead to falls because they're not able to stop when they want to. So balance is a big issue. Coordination is also a big issue. Again, even trying to eat a meal when you're, to coordinate between this table and the thing, that also becomes very difficult. So these are little things that we think of in life, take for granted, but this becomes a big thing for a person with Parkinson's. Number 5 is the face. Now the face, they may show no expression in the face. This is called mask face. And again, it's very hard to tell if they're really happy or not. Number 6 is micrographia, or even small movements with your fingers and hands become very difficult to do. So simple things like buttoning your shirt or even writing becomes very difficult. A lot of times when they're writing, you start off with a bigger writing, and then slowly it starts to get smaller and smaller and tapers off. And I've seen my father go through this. And so he would actually practice about half an hour of writing every day just to keep his fingers moving properly. And so that is actually a good thing if anybody has this problem. Number 7, difficulty swallowing, chewing, and speaking. So they need to eat very slowly so that they don't choke on their food. Number 8, the speech. The speech can also be very monotonic and expressionless. So a lot of times what happens is people can mistake this as depression, but really it doesn't mean it's depression. It's just that they're not able to show the intonations in the voice. And but of course, depression is also one of the symptoms that can happen. So you don't want to discount that either, but just make sure don't assume that it is depression. Number 9, constipation. Now, constipation is very common. Now, again, with Vata imbalance itself, you can get constipation. This is why I did a whole 3 videos on constipation. I will share the the link in the description. But again, constipation is a big problem with Vatas. And again, when you're not getting rid of waste products, then your mind also gets very foggy, you lack clarity and all of that. So it's very important that you make sure you have a regular bowel movement. Number 10 is sleep problems. Now, sleep problems, very common. Falling asleep can be a problem, or even staying asleep or waking up too early in the morning. All of these things are problems of Parkinson's. Of course, it is also related to old age. Now, let's talk about the Ayurvedic approach to Parkinson's. Now, the ancient classical texts of Ayurveda don't really talk about Parkinson's as a disease. Again, Parkinson's itself is a modern term. It's not an Ayurvedic term, but again, usually Ayurveda looks at imbalances. However, there has been talk about tremors in the old texts, but the modern Ayurvedic literature does talk about Parkinson's more because we see that more, and it is generally called Kampavata. Kampa means tremors. Vata is of course caused by Vata. So basically, tremors due to Vata is called Kampavata, and that is the name they use for Parkinson's in the modern Ayurvedic literature. So basically, it is a Vata condition or a Vata aggravation in the body. So what is Vata energy? It is energy of movement, and it is also made of the 2 main elements, air and space. So which gives it its quality. So definitely it is very light and drying and cooling in nature. So the stages of life have also been classified as Vata, Pitta, Kapha in Ayurveda. So when we get to old age, we're actually getting into the Vata stage of life. So like increases like in Ayurveda. So when Vata, generally, if you have not taken care of your health, Vata gets imbalanced very easily because it is the mover. At the same time, if you get to old age, again, it gets even more aggravated, especially if you have not really taken care of yourself over the years. The third thing that makes it even worse is if you're already a Vata Prakriti to begin with, then naturally when you reach old age, Vata increases, and then of course the Vata aggravation starts and starts to manifest as diseases like Parkinson's, and again even things like Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. Now, there is also Pitta involvement in this sometimes because Pitta is very drying in nature when the heat gets to be too much. The heat can dry things. So naturally, that also adds a new dimension to Parkinson's if a person is Pitta dominant or has a Pitta imbalance. And of course, the third aspect, which is Kapha. Kapha is the fluids in the body. It gives the lubrication, the stability, all of that in the body. But if the Vata and Pitta get too high, they start to dry the Kapha out. There is one of the subsets of Kapha is called Tarpaka Kapha, which is in the brain, which is a gray matter. So that starts to dry out because of the dryness of Vata and the heat of the Pitta. And so that causes a lot of these brain changes. It stops the communication, causes problems with the reflexes, and also memory loss. So again, these are certain things to remember when it comes to the three doshas. And of course, if you are a Vata Prakriti to begin with, or you've had Vata imbalance for a long time, or you're a Vata Pitta Prakriti, then you're more likely to end up with Parkinson's if you do not follow a proper life and diet and lifestyle than a person with Kapha. Kapha is usually more protected in this situation. So I have shared a lot of information about Parkinson's, also given you the symptoms and Ayurvedic approach to this. So again, if you have some of these symptoms, or you are age 60 and over, or have predisposition to this because of Vata Prakriti or Vata Pitta Prakriti, then make sure you follow a good life, a diet and lifestyle to keep yourself healthy and feel energetic. Now, this is a degenerative condition. It just gets worse over time, especially if you do not take care of yourself. So if you are taking pills, of course, those are going to help you. But at the same time, you need to take the diet, and you need to follow a certain diet and lifestyle to keep you at that stage and still keep you going at to have a quality of life. Because a lot of times the quality of life is just as important, or maybe even more than the quantity of life. Because if the quality of life goes down, even a day is going to feel like a whole year. So again, next week I will share more about diet and lifestyle specifically for Parkinson's. However, in the meantime, if you really want to learn more, watch my videos on constipation. I've shared about diet and lifestyle. Those are sort of very much Vata pacifying diet and lifestyle, so you can definitely follow some of those right away. But next week I will definitely share more and even talk about yoga. So that's it for today. Always listen to your body, observe your mind, and help yourself, and have a wonderful week ahead. And I will see you again next week with a new episode.